This is a world where money has no value. Time is everything. If you want to buy something, you have to give up some of your life in exchange for it. Only then will you be able to buy it. But to live a good life in this world, you also need to have time. Because here, when a person reaches 25 years of age, a year of time starts counting down on their hands. The moment the countdown reaches 0, that person dies. The rich had so much time that they could live 1,000 years. The rich had created a separate world for themselves, where they lived a comfortable life. But on the other hand, the poor people living in Ghetto City worked day and night to earn time for themselves. Otherwise, their lives would end. In this slum of poor people lived a boy named Will, who had only 23 hours left on his watch. Will lived with his mother, now because aging stops after 25. That's why his mother looked so young despite being 50. Today was Will's mother's 50th birthday. Will had worked overtime last night to bring a bottle of champagne to celebrate her birthday. Seeing this, Will's mother was overjoyed and told Will, "I want to see my grandchildren. Why don't you date a girl?" To which Will replied, "Who has time for all this?" Will's mother told him, "I have to clear the electricity bill and the bank loan by tomorrow. Otherwise, we might get fined. So I'm leaving now and will be back by tomorrow night after paying all the bills and the bank loan." She said, "I only have 3 days. Paying off the electricity bill and the bank loan will take up almost all of my time. So, be sure to wait for me at the bus stop tomorrow evening so I can take some time with you before I run out." Will replied, "Okay, I'll be there on time." Before leaving, Will's mother touches Will's hand and transfers 30 minutes of her mental energy into his body so he can buy a good breakfast. Afterward, the two set off on their respective errands. On the way, a little girl approaches Will. She gives him a capsule and asks for a little of his time. Smiling, Will gives the little girl 5 minutes of his life in the capsule, and she leaves. This is where we learn that people can store their time in a capsule, allowing them to use and transfer it at any time. Will then arrives at the factory for work. Before starting work, he goes to get coffee, but finds that the price of everything has doubled. Where coffee used to be available for 2 minutes, it now costs 4 minutes. The price of anything can be increased at any time without any announcement. This deeply offends Will. Out of compulsion, Will pays 4 minutes of his life for the coffee and gets to work. After a long day of work, Will goes to a bar with his friend at night. Will's friend was a notorious alcoholic, always drunk. Will's friend gestured to Will that the man was serving free drinks to everyone and had plenty of time. Hearing this, Will looked at the man and saw him surrounded by women. Will looked at the man's watch. He saw that he had 116 years of time. Seeing this, Will realized that this man was from Greenwich City, because in Ghetto City, people have a maximum of 2 days' time. Will approached the man and warned him that he shouldn't be here. There was a danger of thieves here. They would kill you and steal your time. So, get out of here quickly. But the man didn't take Will's words seriously and ignored him and continued drinking. Just then, a gangster named Fortis entered the bar with his gang and everyone ran out. Actually, these are the city's biggest thugs who forcibly steal people's time. Will's friend tried to grab Will and take him away, but Will refused to go and hid in a corner watching everything. Fortis had come to steal all the rich man's time. Fortis challenged the rich man to a hand-to-hand fight, and the loser would give all his time to the winner. This time fight was like arm wrestling, where 2 people had to hold each other's wrists. Whoever had the lower wrist would lose time, and that time would be transferred to the hand of the person with the upper wrist. The winner would then store all the time in their body and kill the other man. Fortis asked the man, "Are you ready for this?" The rich man replied, "I've had too much to drink, so I need some time." "Then I'm ready for your challenge." Fortis said, "Okay, that's your last wish. Go ahead. I'll give you a few minutes to get ready." Fortis sends one of his men with him to prevent him from escaping. The rich man goes to the bathroom and starts vomiting profusely because he was high. If he had tried to fight Fortis in this state, the rich man would have lost. Just then, Will arrives. He kills Fortis's men and takes the rich man out of the area. He rescues him from Fortis and brings him to a safe place. Will tells the rich man, "I told you your life is in danger. Why are you wasting your time?" The man tells Will his name is Henry and asks him how old he is. Will says, 28 years old. Henry said, "I'm 105 years old and I'm tired of life. I've enjoyed everything in my life and I don't need it anymore. I don't want to live." Hearing this, Will asked in surprise, "What are you trying to say?" Henry replied, "I think you're still unaware of reality. Have you ever wondered why different time zones exist in this world? Why are prices and taxes raised at any moment in your time zone, Gates? In fact, inflation is deliberately fueled so that poor people continue to die and the rich in the Greenwich time zone can profit from their deaths. In fact, this entire system is theirs. Just think, there in the Greenwich time zone, people have thousands of years to live. But here in the Gates, you work hard every day to survive. This is because they've forced you to do it. They don't want to give you more time so that you'll continue to work for them. They increase inflation to make you work as much as possible. They force you to spend your time so they can live forever with your time. They've earned every day of their lives from the deaths of the poor, and I don't want to live a life that's been earned by the death of a poor, helpless person. Hearing this, Will realized that Henry was a very kind-hearted person. Henry further asked Will, "If you had as much time as I do, what would you do?" Will smiled and said, "First of all, I would stop constantly checking the time, because even then, Will only has 18 hours. He constantly checks his watch before going to bed, after going to bed, and while eating, because he's afraid he'll run out of time and die." Will says, "My mom works very hard to manage the house. If I had as much time as you, I would buy my mom a nice house in Greenwich City and we would both live happily there." Will then tells Henry, "We have to stay here tonight. The danger will be over by morning. Then you can go back to your house." After this, they both fall asleep. In the morning, Henry awakens to find Will still asleep. He goes to Will and transfers all his time to him, leaving him with only a few minutes to spare. When Will awakens, he sees that Henry has left. As usual, Will glances at his watch. 116 years have already been added to Will's clock. His eyes widen, realizing he's still asleep and dreaming. Just then, Will glances at a window that reads, "Don't waste my time." He realizes that Henry has given me all his time. Just then, Will sees Henry sitting on the edge of a bridge. Will quickly runs to Henry, but it's too late, as Henry has only seconds left. A short while later, he falls from the bridge into the water, dying. Will is deeply saddened by Henry's death. He now has 116 years of life left, and he realizes that if he stays here, people will think he killed Henry. Will quickly goes to his friend. His friend is shocked to see Will's time in his hands. Will then gives his friend 10 years for the sake of friendship. Seeing this, Will's friend sincerely thanks him. Will says, "Staying here is no longer right for me because, given the vast amount of time, anyone could kill me for taking away my time. Now I can buy a nice house for my mother in Greenwich City and live a safe life there." Will then says goodbye to his friend and leaves, heading straight to the bus stop where he waited for his mother. 2 days ago, his mother had told him she would arrive there after paying off her electricity bill and bank loan. Meanwhile, Will's mother, after paying off all her loans and bills, boarded a bus to return home. Only then did she discover that the price of bus tickets had doubled in a single day. Previously, the price of a ticket had been $1,000. The bus used to arrive in an hour, but now it had taken 2 hours. Seeing this, Will's mother became extremely worried, as she only had an hour and a half left. Will's mother pleaded with the bus driver, saying, "My son will give her the remaining time at the next stop." But the driver flatly refused, saying, "If you don't have time, then you should walk." However, Will's mother knew that the next bus stop was too far away. Even if she walked, it would take 2 hours. There were many passengers on the bus at that time. Will's mother pleaded with them, but no one helped her. Just then, the bus left. Will's mother, Rachel, didn't have much time left, so she ran home. Meanwhile, Will was waiting at the bus stop with a bouquet of flowers for his mother, as he was to celebrate her birthday. When the bus arrived, many passengers got off, but Will's mother was missing. This upset Will. He realized his mother was in trouble. He immediately ran to find her. Meanwhile, Rachel had only a few minutes left. She knocked on the doors of passing cars and people's homes, asking for some time, but no one was willing to help her. When Will had gone a little distance, he saw his mother running. Seeing her running, Will realized they didn't have much time. He extended his hand and ran towards her. Meanwhile, Rachel only had 10 seconds left. She too was running towards Will at full speed, but just as Rachel reached her son, Will's time ran out, and she died. This heartbreaking sight devastated Will, who had thought so much for his mother. He wept bitterly. By the next morning, Henry's body was found by the timekeepers. These timekeepers investigate. In today's world, there used to be timekeepers. They were like police officers. These timekeepers also worked to prevent crime. Timekeepers Officer Raymond thoroughly investigated the area, but found no clues. Then Raymond noticed a CCTV camera installed near the bridge. He headed for the CCTV room to check the footage. Meanwhile, Will realized that the wealthy Greenwich residents were responsible for his mother's death. They had made the residents of the ghetto city dependent on every second. Now, Will set out for Greenwich to seek revenge, and this is where the real story begins. To enter Greenwich City, Will had to spend a year's time and reached Greenwich City. When Will saw the lifestyles of the wealthy, his eyes were astonished. People there had so much time that they forgot to even think of death. Even the bodyguards of the wealthy had more than 100 years of time. Seeing this, Will became furious, because in the city Will came from, people only had 24 hours. Will stays at an expensive hotel. While eating, a beautiful woman catches Will's eye. Meanwhile, timekeeper Raymond is checking CCTV footage from the time of Henry's death. He spots Will in the footage. Although the camera didn't record Henry falling from the bridge, Will is seen standing near the bridge, making Raymond suspicious. Raymond then orders his team to gather information about Will. During their research, the timekeepers discover that a man named Will has spent a lot of time in Greenwich City, confirming that Will killed Henry. Raymond immediately sets off for Greenwich with his team. Meanwhile, in Greenwich, Will arrives at a casino where some wealthy people are playing poker. He joins them. Seeing the new man, they laugh at him, but Will is an expert at gambling. Today was his perfect opportunity to extract money from the rich. Will played poker with a wealthy man named Philip. Philip is the richest man in the world. He owns his own time bank, lending time to people. His daughter is also sitting with Philip. This is the same girl who was watching Will intently a few moments ago. When the game begins, Will puts his entire life's time at stake, and thanks to his ingenuity, he wins 1,100 years from Philip. Seeing this, Philip's daughter Sylvia is deeply impressed. She invites Will to a party at her house last night. Then, the next evening, Will buys a brand new car and arrives at Philip's party. During the party, Will and Sylvia begin dancing, and Sylvia falls in love with Will. She is about to confess her feelings to Will when timekeeper Raymond arrives with his team and captures Will. Thinking Will is a murderer, Sylvia becomes angry with him. Raymond first took away all of Will's time, giving him only 2 hours. Then, he began to arrest Will for Henry's murder. Raymond asked Will why he killed Henry. Will told him, "I didn't kill him, but he didn't want to live. So he gave me 116 years and then took his own life." But Raymond didn't believe Will. Will realized that Raymond would frame him in a false case against Henry and put him in prison for life. So he seized the opportunity and freed himself by killing Raymond's men. He took their gun and captured Sylvia. Using Sylvia as a shield, Will escaped with her, eluding Raymond and his men, and returned to Gato City. Will had very little time left. He asked Sylvia for some time, but she refused to give him even a second because she too believed him to be Henry's murderer. So he speeds towards the city of Gato, hoping to borrow time from someone there. In his haste, he overlooks the barbed wire strewn across the road ahead. Upon hitting it, Will's car falls off a bridge. In this accident, Will and Sylvia are knocked unconscious. The barbed wire was actually laid by Fortis and his gang. Fortis, realizing that Sylvia had 10 years of time, steals all of her time and flees. Just then, Will and Sylvia regain consciousness. When Sylvia looked at her hands, she was worried, as she had only 30 minutes left, while Will also had a few. Nevertheless, he gave Sylvia a few minutes of his own, making their time equal. After this, Will quickly takes Sylvia to the house of his friend, to whom he had given 10 years. When his friend's wife opened the door and saw Will, she expressed her anger, saying, "The 10 years you gave me cost my husband his life. He wasted all that time drinking, which led to his death." Hearing this, Will was devastated. But now, they didn't have much time left. If they didn't act quickly, their deaths were certain. Then Will noticed a diamond earring in Sylvia's ear. By selling it, Will and Sylvia bought 2 days' time. Will then took Sylvia to a phone booth. He called Sylvia's father, Philip, and informed him that his daughter was still safe. Raymond was with Philip at the time, and Will knew Raymond was also there. In exchange for releasing Sylvia, Will asked for 10,000 years of time, promising to distribute it among the poor through a time bank, and gave him until tomorrow morning. However, this amount was nothing to Philip, but Philip, unwilling to give time to the poor, was unwilling to give it to them. Meanwhile, Will brought Sylvia to his home, where they waited for morning. Sylvia asked Will where his family was. Will explained that his mother had died the previous night because he hadn't had time. Hearing this, Sylvia felt deeply saddened and realized how poor people live in constant fear of death. They had to work so hard to earn a single day's worth of time. The next morning, as soon as the bank opened, Will and Sylvia watched from the window, but the bank refused to distribute time to the poor. Sylvia was deeply disappointed to see that her father was worthless to her, even his own daughter. Now, Sylvia understood that her father wasn't just a businessman, but the head of this system. He was accumulating years of his life from the deaths of poor people. Seeing Sylvia so dejected, Will decided to send her back home. He brought her to a phone booth and asked her father to call for help. Meanwhile, Will gives Sylvia a weapon so she can protect herself. Sylvia was talking to her father on the phone when timekeeper Raymond sneaked up and pointed a gun at Will. Raymond was about to shoot Will when Sylvia saw him and, in panic, shot him. Seeing this, Will panicked and rushed to Raymond. However, the bullet grazed Raymond's hand. Raymond was bleeding profusely. Will checked Raymond's watch. Raymond had only 2 hours left. In fact, even timekeepers received only 1 day's time as their salary. Will realized that by the time his team reached Raymond, Raymond would have bled to death. So, Will gave Raymond 2 hours and left the scene with Raymond's car. By shooting Raymond, Sylvia had also been included in the crime list, although Will told Sylvia she could escape this. Life in Greenwich felt like a caged bird for Sylvia. Her father, Philip, had imposed numerous restrictions on her, but here, she felt a sense of freedom, as she was master of her own will. Sylvia understood the injustices being done to her. Now she joined Will in helping the poor. Together, Will and Sylvia began robbing the rich. Sylvia, who knew every inch of Greenwich City, hatched a plan to steal time capsules from banks in Greenwich and distribute them among the poor. Sylvia first robbed several of her father Philip's banks, as Philip had collected all the time capsules from the deaths of the poor. They packed all the time capsules from the vaults into a bag, escaped, and began distributing them among the poor. After such a massive heist, even the government was fed up with them. That's why the government put a 10-year bounty on their heads. Upon hearing this news, gangster Fortis began searching for them like a dog. But Will and Sylvia changed their locations daily, evading detection. They were hiding in a hotel. They had booked the entire hotel, and Fortis, not short of time, arrived outside the hotel in search of them. He apprehended some people there and began questioning them about Will and Sylvia. But Will and Sylvia owed them a great deal of gratitude. They were willing to die, but were unwilling to reveal Will and Sylvia's whereabouts. However, when Fortis applied more force, one of them, fearing death, told Fortis the location of the hotel where Will and Sylvia were hiding. Fortis immediately arrived with his gang and captured them. Now, Will and Sylvia's escape was impossible. Fortis sat Will down at a table and challenged him to a time fight. Will understood that if he refused the challenge, Fortis's gang would kill him. So, why not try his hand at it today? Fortis and Will grabbed each other's wrists, and the game of death began. Fortis, a master player, forced Will's hand down at the very beginning, causing Will's time to rapidly transfer to Fortis. But Will wasn't trying at all, as if he were deliberately losing. But just when Will had 3 to 4 seconds left, Will displayed his power and, with one blow, forced Fortis's hand down. Fortis's eyes widened. He tried with all his might to raise his hand, but Will's strength had weakened. Seeing this, Fortis's men focused on Fortis's watch. Now their boss was about to die. At this moment, Will took the opportunity and took a gun from his shoe and shot all of Fortis's men in the blink of an eye. As if he hadn't done so, they would have killed him. With this, Fortis's time was reduced to 0, and he was also killed. Will and Sylvia quickly escaped. Meanwhile, they realized that the rich had turned the tables. All the time Will and Sylvia had distributed to the poor was now worth nothing because the rich had multiplied the rate of inflation. Seeing this, Will felt defeated and felt that he would never be able to give these poor people their due. He told Sylvia that it was all over. Even if he distributed 1,000 years to the people, the rich would only increase inflation further, making the situation impossible for the people. Sylvia insisted that there must be a way. Will replied that they would have to steal millions of years and give them to them. Only then could they control inflation. Although this wasn't that easy, Sylvia had a plan. The next morning, when Philip arrived at the office with his bodyguards, Sylvia arrived and told her father that she wanted to surrender. All the guards pointed their guns at Sylvia. But then Will, hiding in the guard base, arrived from behind. He held a gun to Philip's head and forced him to open the locker door. Will and Sylvia stole a time capsule from Philip's locker, containing 1 million years of time. Each year in this time capsule was created by the deaths of the poor. Will and Sylvia fled with the time capsule. Raymond, upon learning of this, immediately set out after Will and Sylvia. Looking at the watch on his wrist, he realized he had less than an hour left. He called headquarters and demanded that he send his salary to the capsule. "I'm running out of time." But before he could transfer the time from the capsule to his body, he spotted Will's car and, without transferring the time from the capsule to his own, chased after them. Because if the poor received those 1 million years, every person in the ghetto time zone would become immortal, and the entire system built by the rich would collapse. Raymond tried his best to catch Will and Sylvia, but he couldn't stop them. Will and Sylvia tricked Raymond into coming to Ghetto City and handing the time capsule to a little girl. They knew Raymond would come after them, so they left the place and went to a secluded place. There, they had distributed millions of years among the people of Ghetto City, making them immortal. But they themselves had very little time left. Unfortunately, Raymond caught them at that very moment. Raymond threatened Will, saying, "If you love your life, return all the time you stole." Then Will showed him the time on his watch. Will and Sylvia had only a few minutes left. Will said to Raymond, "Have you forgotten? Remember, when you were about to die, I lent you some time. You should give me back my time." Hearing this, Raymond remembered that in his haste to catch up with Will and Sylvia, he hadn't paid attention to his time. When he looked at his watch, he had only 5 seconds left. They quickly turned to 0, and Raymond was dead. Will and Sylvia had escaped Raymond, but they each had only a minute left. Moreover, there was no one to help them in that desolate area. They could clearly see their own death. They embraced each other in despair, and then Will spotted Raymond's car. Will ran towards the foreign car, and upon reaching there, transferred Raymond's salary to his watch. He then began running towards Sylvia to give her time. Sylvia was also running rapidly towards Will. Sylvia had only a few seconds left. It was exactly the same moment Will had lost his mother. Will had lost his mother, but he didn't want to lose Sylvia. Will was very close to Sylvia. But then Sylvia fell into Will's arms. Luckily, Will held Sylvia's hand just in time, saving her life. Thanks to Will and Sylvia, all the people of Dayton were now immortal. They no longer needed to work in factories to earn an hourly wage. They all set out for Greenwich to fulfill their dreams, thus bringing the entire system created by the rich to a halt. The story ends there.